All right, so excuse me. It's been a little bit since I reviewed Past Lives, about a week, and today I'm going to be talking about four movies that I missed throughout this year. Some are just recently came out or just came to streaming services. Yeah, so I'm just going to run through my thoughts on them and hold you guys over until I see the new Mission Impossible tomorrow. So, yeah. Let's get right into it with the first movie, which is Insidious, The Red Door. This is the newest one on this list. This came out last Friday, and I was pretty excited for it. I'm a big Insidious guy. I think you guys know that already. The first Insidious is one of my favorite horror movies. I love that movie. The second one's really good, and then third and fourth one are okay. But I wouldn't say up until this point there was a bad entry in the Insidious movies, and I wasn't really expecting The Red Door to be as silly as it is. This movie reached over to the territory of being funny bad a lot of the time. And for that, I kind of enjoyed it. Like, I had a really fun time watching this movie, but Insidious The Red Door was not a good send off for the series. Like, it wasn't a very well made movie. There were some scares that I really liked. Patrick Wilson, for all that he didn't do right in this movie, I think him as a director, he was fine with his shot composition and stuff like that. There were some good scares, and I think he knows how to shoot horror. It's just that the rest of this movie was very silly and very all over the place, and didn't know what kind of tone it wanted to go for. And that's the thing, is the first handful of Insidious movies took themselves very seriously. They were campy and they were, very low budget, but they never tried to force the comedy. And I feel like this movie, especially with Dalton being in college and kind of, it was just really forced into the script, and it didn't work for me at all. There's a lot of corny dialogue. There's a lot of scenes where you're just kind of like, why did they do that? So, I don't have a lot to say about this one, just because it's very silly. It's very all over the place. It's very not well made. And it's definitely my least favorite of all of the Insidious movies. And I think it kind of, I'm good with these movies being done. I don't need any more Insidious movies, especially after this one. But again, it wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. It was just really silly. It was, I know I keep saying that, but it was just, I don't know. It felt like it went too far into the campiness and way too far into like the Blumhouse writing style. So yeah, I'm gonna give Insidious The Red Door a light C. It didn't hit the mark for me. Next up, we have Run, Rabbit, Run. This is a movie that's just dropped to Netflix, I think a week or two ago. I'm not really sure. It premiered at, I think it was Cannes. It either was Cannes or the Toronto Film Fest. I genuinely don't remember which, or Sundance. It was one of those, one of the bigger film festivals. And then it just dropped to Netflix recently. I was really excited to see this. My friend was really, really excited to see this as well. And this was also fine. Like, I don't really know. This movie gave me nothing to grasp onto. It had its beats. There was some really good cinematography in it. The lead performance from the lady who's in Succession, I always forget her name. She was really great in this film. She's the main attraction here. Her performance is the reason why you would want to watch this movie. And just for me personally, I didn't connect with it. I can see a lot of people really hating this thing and a lot of people really loving it. Like, I can genuinely see people liking this approach of a slow burn and not necessarily metaphorical stuff, but just like this brand of like batshit crazy horror movie, just kind of streamlined. Like, it's not as out there and as wild as some of the other like refined horror. I forget what the term is, but you know what I'm talking about. Those kinds of horror, the newer crop of horror movies that are more metaphorical and stuff like that. It's definitely in that trend, but it's not. It's definitely very Netflix, and it's very streamlined. And I don't know. It just had a very bland presentation to it. The story didn't ever grab me like it should have. And the child actor was really fucking obnoxious. I know that was on purpose, but she was just like distractingly like, why did we make this character this way? And I just felt like it never fit the pieces well. Does that make any sense? Like it never um, put the puzzle together at the end. It kind of it left a lot of things unturned that it probably shouldn't have, you know, been let to settle themselves. If that makes any sense. There's a lot of ambiguity in this movie, and I feel like there was too much. Like I feel like we should have been shown more. I feel like there should have been more horror. There should have been more tense moments, and I felt like they focused on the mother and daughter arguing way too much. Like I feel like we got that scene repeated over and over again in this movie, and that it didn't need to be there that many times. I felt like they wasted a lot of time in this movie. So Run Rabbit Run, it's fine. Like I would say check this one out. I guess just if you're curious about it, I'm sure some other people will get more out of it than I did. But for me, it's just kind of there, and it's not going to move the needle in either direction. So I'm going to give Run Rabbit Run a C plus. The next movie we have up is Peter Pan and Wendy. This was a Disney Plus original that I wanted to check out, mainly because David Lowery, who directed The Green Knight and A Ghost Story, directed this movie. Now, I know that, like, to some people that it's like, why the fuck would he direct this movie of all movies? He also did a live-action Disney remake, it's Pete's Dragon, and that was pretty good. That was probably the best we've gotten out of these CGI Disney remakes. I actually really liked that one, and with this movie, I could see him doing a reimagining of Peter Pan that would work. Did it? It was fine. I don't know. To me, it just felt like a lesser version of the 2006 Peter Pan, which I genuinely think is still holds up. I just watched that recently, and it still holds up. It's pretty good. And it just, to me, out of all of the remakes and redones of Peter Pan, this feels like the most plain. Like, if you take something like Pan from a couple years ago, that movie was fucking awful, but it still stood out. It still did its own thing. It just kind of fell off into a ditch. And then, like, Hook and the 2006 Peter Pan, they just felt more alive, and they felt like they had so much more of a personality. And then this movie was just there. Like, it was just, okay, it's another Peter Pan. Everybody did fine in the movie. It followed pretty much the same beats as we normally did. It toned down the violence a little bit from the 2006 version. And I don't know. It just feels like why would you watch this when you have a better live-action remake? A couple of them. And to me, this movie just kind of feels pointless. I mean, again, it's like a fine kids movie. It doesn't push the needle in either direction. It was just there. And I don't have much to say about it. Like these first three movies, I don't know. I bunched them together just because I don't have a lot to say about boring movies. Because this movie was mundane. It was very visually unappealing. I felt like it was just like a modern remake, and that was it. Like, it had nothing much else. So I'm gonna give Peter Pan and Wendy also a C plus. Like it was fine. It wasn't terrible at all. It's not gonna make like my worst list or anything, but meh. So that brings us to our last movie, which is Shazam: The Fury of the Gods. I've been putting off talking about this movie for I think a month now. I think I watched it around a month ago, and there's a reason for that because wow. So I don't give out a lot of Fs. That's my lowest grade. That is like the worst a movie can get. And I don't think I've given one out since Artemis Fowl, like 3 years ago. So I don't give them out lightly. Like I don't think there's that many horrible new releases, and I tend to, stay away from like straight to DVD crap or a lot of Netflix originals that I know are going to be shit. I tend to stay away from those just because I feel like that's like easy targets. But man, with this movie, I didn't see it in theaters because I didn't want to. I pushed it off, and then now it was on HBO Max, and one night I was like, you know what, let's just watch it. It is one of the worst movies I think I've ever seen. Shazam: Fury of the Gods is fucking awful. It takes everything I liked out of the original and makes it so cartoonishly corporate. Like, this movie is so manufactured and so by the numbers and so just generic. This movie has no personality, and it has little to no plot either. Like, they kind of just stumble through the story the entire time and kind of like mug for the camera the entire time. The villains are nothing. They're just there to be there. They're fine. They're just no personality, no charisma, no charm. The original, for its shortcomings, like, I don't love the first Shazam movie, but I do really like it. It was fun. It had a cool villain. It was visually interesting. It didn't make Billy like the central focus here. Like, and I like the guy who plays Shazam. Like, for as much as I hate him in real life, he had charm in that movie, and they hit that sweet spot. Here, he's just obnoxious, and they focus way too much on the child actors, and the romance between the dude from It and the one of the goddesses is so dumb. It is unfathomably dumb, and there's like a major plot point that revolves around Skittles, which is probably one of the worst product placements I've ever seen in a movie. It's just, it is every reason why people hate modern superhero movies is Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Like, it is that bad. Like, this movie is the antithesis of what I personally want in a superhero movie. Let's take my favorite superhero movie of all time, my favorite comic book movie, The Batman, that came out last year. This movie is bad in the opposite way of that movie being great. Does that make any sense? Like, this movie checks all of the boxes of what I don't want in a superhero movie. And just in a movie in general, it is my least favorite kind of movie to exist. It is just there so the DCEU didn't implode. And it kind of, I don't know. It bombed, so it didn't work, but man, Fury of the Gods is bad. It's even worse than I thought it was going to be. Like, I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't know this. I saw the first trailer. I'm like, that's going to be dog shit. But I didn't know it would be this bad. Fury of the Gods gets an F. Like the lightest of F that I can give this movie. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it wasn't the most positive thing. I didn't really like any of these movies. But just had to get that out of my system, get these movies reviewed, get something out to you guys. So, yeah, I will see you in the next video, which will be my Mission Impossible 7 review, which will hopefully, won't disappoint. I'm hearing good things, so I'm pretty excited for that movie. Yeah, other than that, I will see you all later.